Sennheiser just dropped their EW-DP system and I'm super excited because I've been using their G2, G3, G4 for over 15 years now, and this is G5. Before we talk about the G5, let me do a quick run-through over wireless microphones to understand why the EW-DP is so amazing. So you have your 2.4 GHz systems. This is your standard creator microphone and it works on 2.4 GHz. Rode have their Wireless Go and Wireless Pro. DJI have their DJI mic. Holy Land have their Lark and Lark 2. So this is generally what all the creators are using. And it's a good system, but you have very little control over the medium, and if you're in a place where radio frequency is saturated, you will probably have interference. Then if you're going one step higher, you have DECT systems, and for us this is the Sennheiser AVX. Now this is a great system. This is what we've been using for trade shows. It gets almost no interference even in saturated places, but you have very little control over your channels and your radio frequency. Then you have the king of the castle, the master of the domain, the golden standard, UHF systems. I've been using the Sennheisers ever since I can remember, maybe over 15 years. The G2, G3, G4, you have a lot of control over the medium here, and the trade-off for that is that you have to know what you're doing and it takes a little bit of time to set up. With the G5, Sennheiser introduced digital UHF, which is kind of the best of both worlds. So it is far more flexible and far more reliable, but also it's easier to pair and you get better control over the medium. So let's talk about size for a second. The AVX are incredibly small, and at least for my setup where I'm using the Sony FX3, they plug right into the handle, and this is just about the most minimal setup you can get. The EW-DP is a little bit bigger, and I will give it to Sennheiser. It is not only bigger, it also feels better and sturdier. I mean, even the antennas feel better. The G3's antennas were, I don't know, kind of finicky at times. Anyways, it is bigger. This is not an issue if you're using a sound bag, so you can kind of use the clips to put it inside. But if you're stacking them on a camera, then depending on your setup, this may or may not be an issue. We're typically stationary in a tripod, so this is not an issue for us. But if you're using a gimbal, then you'll have to take the extra height into consideration. There's almost no setup for the AVX, which is extremely convenient. But if you need more control, then the EW-DP lets you select frequencies and channels. This lets you select a place where you have zero interference. If you're in a hurry, you can use auto scan and it will select the best frequency for you. On the flip side, the time that you're paying for RF setup, you gain with pairing. So I don't know if you've ever used the older Sennheiser systems where you kind of have to IR your way through them. The setup for the G5 is incredibly easy. You hit sync on both devices, the transmitter and the receiver, and about a second later they're paired. So this is unbelievably comfortable. I also like how the G5 handles mounting. If you want to mount it on a camera, you obviously have a Porta 20 mount, so you can mount it on a cage, but it also comes with a magnetic plate which you can mount on your camera, and then you can stack receivers on top of that. This puts the receivers where you almost always have line of sight to the transmitter, which does impact the range. We're gonna do a range test, and I'm gonna go over there and we'll see how it works. I'm gonna use this phone to keep in touch with Sagi, my camera op, and he'll let me know when we're losing reception. Let's go. So this is pretty interesting. We come at a spot where it matters if the receiver is seeing the transceiver or not. So we're getting better reception with line of sight, and we're getting semi-good reception and a little bit of cutoffs when this is behind my back. We've measured about 30 meters when we had a line of sight between the transmitter and the receiver. Unlike the older systems, here everything is controlled from the receiver, so the camera operator has full control over the scenario. And here's a cool little thing. The receiver has a little yellow LED which tells you if something went wrong. So if your sound is clipping, or the talent pressed the mute button by mistake, or if your battery is running low, you'll have this little yellow indicator light and a text that tells you what's going on. As long as you're monitoring that yellow LED, it is really easy to keep your setup running smoothly. And if we're touching on controls, you also have the Smart Assist app. Now this is a Sennheiser app that you can use to control all your EW-DP devices. You can set the frequency and the channel, you can control gain and output, and you can even do software updates. In terms of power, I think Sennheiser took some really clever decisions here. For the AVX, you have different batteries batteries for different devices, but for the G5, Sennheiser made a lithium-ion battery. It's the same battery that goes in your microphone, your body pack, and the receiver. Even better, this battery is just like two AA's, so if that battery runs out, you can just pick up two AA's and you will never be left without power because, hey, you can get AA's everywhere. If this is not enough, you can also power the receivers via USB. I really cannot see you getting stuck with a drained device for the G5. Just before we wrap up, let me do a quick sound sample for you.
Obviously, I wanted to check the mic in natural conditions. And of course, it sounds totally different when you're in the car. Now, I'm in a closed space.
Here's the thing. Because the EW-DP has 134 dB of dynamic range, I can do this and not clip. Green grass is better than brown grass.
We've been using two devices here. The EW-DP Me 2, which is the body pack and the lavalier, and the Sennheiser EW-DP 835, which is a reporter-style mic. Each of them costs $699 in February 2024, and they come with a microphone and a receiver unit. All in all, I think that combining the new G5 with our current AVX system will be a great solution for us. I'm Udi Tirosh with DIYPhotography.net, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hit the like button, the share button, just hit all the buttons on the screen, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.